So the boys wrapped up recently, and man, it was rough. To put it simply, I thought the finale was decent, but very underwhelming, and tons, and I mean tons of wasted potential. I didn't make a video after episode 7 because I hoped that maybe the finale will be good, and having the whole picture now, it just makes sense. Plus, this is like my third video on The Boys in a row. So it's like a nice trilogy to end the Boys related discussion. So I can move on and talk about stuff like Halo Combat Evolved and Mixtape, the very controversial millennial game, I guess. I really want to try it, I want to see what all the, hype is about. And by hype, I mean all the hate. But anyways, before I rip into The Boys Season 5 and its finale, I think I should start with the good parts of the finale because that's what a good critique is. You gotta praise the show when it does something good. And I think The Boys Season 5 actually started on the good note. The first 5 episodes weren't actually that bad, and yes, that also includes episodes 4 and 5. A lot of people said that episodes 4 and 5 were fillers, but they aren't. Fillers, by definition, are episodes that pad runtime without having anything of substance. Meaning, if you skip episodes 4 and 5, you should not lose anything related to the plot. But that's just not true. If you watch episode 3 and straight jump to episode 6, you would lose a lot of context. Am I saying that episodes 4 and 5 are perfect? No, I feel like the whole soldier boy warming up to Homelander thing so that he can give the V1 to Homelander in episode 6 setup was a bit rushed. But there is context here. There's context of the Deep and Noir's conflict. There's context of Sage plotting against Homelander. Then there's literally one of the characters dying, which is Firecracker. If you skip episode 4 and 5, you lose all that, and episode 6 would be confusing. If any episodes that are bad in this season is episode 6, 7, and 8. Honestly, kind of surprised that episode 6 is like a 8.2. I made an entire video on why this episode was a mess and only the final part was good. But well, guess you can't trust IMBD all the time. But anyways, in the first episode, A-Train dies. And I thought this was solid and everything. But again, they could have done more with this character and then give him a death. Also, when he dies, we don't really see the reaction from his family and stuff. They're kind of forgotten in the story. Another reason as to why I think a couple of more episodes could have done this show some favors. But overall, this was still a nice wrap up for A-Train. It just felt a bit wasted though. I thought the whole Firecracker arc was pretty decent. Having to be on the side that you know isn't good and betraying your loved ones in the process while having a moral conflict within yourself about your actions was pretty good. Also, she was the voice actor for Clara from Detroit Become Human, so I didn't know that. That was a very cool fun fact. Did not expect it. And Homelander getting the V1, even though that literally doesn't go anywhere, but we'll talk about that later. And then the final episode, where the Deep, Homelander, and Butcher's deaths were all done well. Notice I say deaths and not the build-up / fights towards those deaths, cause boy do I have a problem with those. But no, I'm talking about the deaths here specifically. The Deep not turning to the good side and staying like he is perfect for his character arc. And I want to say that all 3 deaths are consistent with one of the show's messages said by Huey's dad. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And this perfectly applies to the Deep, Homelander, and Butcher. The Deep and A-Train had the same opportunities in life, but one chose to be good while the other didn't. Both A-Train and the Deep had their chances to become better, but Deep just didn't. He reacted differently than A-Train. You can't really blame anybody else for his position that he currently is in. Sure, some things happened to him that weren't under his control, but his reaction to said things didn't help his case either. As said by Starlight, the Deep never really took responsibility for his own actions. So I like that they committed to the Deep being the bad guy, and I like that. And same thing with Homelander. Yes, he had a terrible childhood with no parents, but Homelander had plenty of chances to become a better person. He is an adult and he chose to react with hostility and power trip over people and forcing them to like him, forcing them to believe he's God because he never got that closure and love when he was a child. Homelander, for 90% of his life, chose to be terrible, while only 10% of it was out of his control. That being his childhood. And with Butcher too, after he kills Homelander, he decides to get back with his son, Ryan. But he doesn't want to. Ryan doesn't forgive him, Butcher's dog also passes away, and then Butcher proceeds to go full psychotic mode and decides to kill all Soups. Except it's heavily hinted and obvious that Butcher wanted to die, and he had no peace. Everything near and dear to him is gone. He doesn't even think he himself deserves peace and a happily ever after. And he was hoping for Huey to put a stop to him. And it was his way of atoning for everything he has put Huey through and the boys. And this fits him perfectly. And also fits that 90-10% rule. Because if Butcher forgave himself, he could have built a peaceful life for himself. He also maybe could have gone back to Ryan and fixed his relationship with him over the years, but he chose to react differently. So yeah, most of the characters' conclusions were solid, and I liked Homelander's death. Homelander's death was perfect, and yeah, the finale kind of sucked, which I will get into why, but like, come on. Don't tell me you didn't find his death satisfying at the very least. The whole world sees Homelander for what he truly is, and it's just perfect. The scene where Homelander loses his powers to his death, where he was popped like a soda can by Butcher with the Half-Life crowbar, was perfection. It's only the part before where I have my problems. Even though I glazed the season 5 of The Boys for about 7 minutes straight, if I had to perfectly describe season 5 of The Boys in 2 words, it would be wasted potential. God, there's so much wasted potential. A-Train, Homelander, the entire cast of Gen V, and then Ryan, Sister Sage. Where the fuck do I even start? Okay, so let's start from the beginning. One of the things that I noticed in season 5 was when we see A-Train being a bit reluctant about going on missions and being part of the resistance. But then again, in Gen V Season 2 finale, when we see A-Train, he is all gung-ho and excited about the whole resistance thing. Why? I don't know. And then Sister Sage. I'm not even gonna engage with this character because I literally have ranted about this character exclusively before. So it would be a waste, and you guys can probably check out those videos. But basically, she is by far the most wasted potential character. She could have been so cool. In a world full of Soups with combative powers, her only power, her only weapon is her intelligence. Because she's super smart, and usually in other TV shows or other media, a smart character can lead to interesting outcomes. But here, she's so wasted. She just predicts things instead of actually doing things and hatching great schemes, and her putting other people in interesting situations and her getting out of sticky situations. None of that really happens, at least not in an interesting way. And look, I'm trying to wrap this character's complaint up because I already have talked so much about her, but she is probably one of the worst written characters in The Boys because she also has a bigger part to play in the show, and her having that much screen time along with the bad writing that she has, it's just not really well done. And again, to write a smart character, the writer needs to be smart. If you're not smart enough, then you're not going to be able to put the smart character doing smart shit. I mean, obviously. And it's kind of sad to see because there's genuinely some potential here that could have been exploited. And I've seen arguments that, oh, people don't like Sage because she's a girl and black, which I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. If you hired Brad Pitt or Ryan Gosling to play Sister Sage in The Boys, that still wouldn't change anything. The writing would still be bad. The problem is not with the actor's skin or their gender. The problem is with the writing. That's what I have an issue with. And that's what most people have an issue with. But yeah, Sage is honestly just so shitty. I don't want to just see this character ever again. And she also gets this ending, you know, she basically gets her powers removed and then she just fucks off. So there is that. And then there's Ryan. Holy shit, Ryan. Man, did they waste his character. So after the season 2 finale, everyone thought that Ryan was gonna be the chosen one since he's a natural born soup and he might defeat Homelander. And yes, Ryan was in the final fight against Homelander, but if you had to ask what Ryan did in the past 3 seasons, you can sum it all up as Ryan going to Butcher, then Homelander, then Butcher, then Homelander. He's like a freaking basketball being passed around. What they should have done with Ryan is that they should have had Ryan be on Butcher's side, but obviously have him have conflicts with Butcher. Because Butcher is not like the best father, and give him more screen time and more arcs to develop his character more, and like give him training arcs or something. That's what they could have done with Ryan. They could have given Ryan more character and more nuance and could have given him more screen time. But no, we gotta have him switch teams every season. Like, what the fuck? You could have done so much with him. And they just didn't. In The Boys season 5, I think he appears only in episode 8 and episode 2 or 3. Like, that's it. What the fuck? So yes, Ryan was entirely wasted. And speaking of completely missed out opportunities, the entire Gen V cast. Holy shit. If any of you that saw the 2 seasons of Gen V, which includes me, will gather around, we must mourn. Because that entire show is completely pointless. No, seriously. The entire point of Gen V, and especially Gen V Season 2, was that they were hyping up Marie Moreau as the secret weapon against Homelander. You would think that Marie would fight Homelander at the very least? Nope. Instead, they have her and the entire cast only for 5 minutes. Yes, 5 minutes of screen time in the entire Boys Season 5. Like, actually 5 minutes of screen time. And they don't even do anything significant in that 5 minutes of screen time. They just talk with Starlight, and then they fuck off to Canada. And like, what was the point? Because really, think about this, okay? The people that didn't see Gen V will think that these scenes are pointless. Like, who is this character? This isn't moving the plot in any major way. Stop wasting my time. And the people that did watch Gen V were obviously enraged because they hyped up these characters only to do nothing with them. Like, why did you even make 2 seasons of this show, this Gen V, if you were not going to do anything with this? If you were going to do this, you should have never made spin-offs. Like, why did you even make 2 seasons of this show if you were going to do this? You should have never made any spin-offs to begin with and just focus on The Boys. You know, like how it was supposed to be, because The Boys always mocked that MCU culture. Yeah, you know, should have stick with that. But no, we gotta have spin-offs, money. And now for the biggest and final disappointment. Homelander. Homelander by far was the most wasted character. All that shit shown in the promos. Yeah, scorched earth my bro. The only thing scorched in that finale was the sofa. For 5 seasons, they've built up Homelander to be like, hey, he's gonna lose it, he's gonna lose his shit, and he's gonna kill a lot of people and go insano mode. That never happens. In fact, I think Homelander killed the least amount of people in this final season directly. You know, when he's supposed to be fully unhinged, the whole fight scene was disappointing, except the death. And the way they take down Homelander just doesn't feel cathartic. It doesn't goes in line with what the show was building up for the past 5 seasons. It feels underwhelming. And keep in mind that Homelander has the V1 injected in him, so he should be a lot stronger and faster as he's shown in multiple other scenes. But oops, I guess not in the final fight. It's just that the whole thing didn't feel like a drawn out fight with a lot of sacrifices and destruction and exhaustion from the character side. Homelander being taken out the way he did feels like a betrayal to what the show built up for the past seasons. When they take down this villain with V1, it just didn't feel grand enough, especially for someone as big bad as Homelander. Again, the death scene is perfect. Homelander without his powers begging is perfect. But it's just how they got to that point is super underwhelming. And I think for most people, this was the case. The entire fight taking place in this tiny ass Oval Office, and only two soups protecting Homelander, by the way. There's no one else other than Deep and Father. And then Soldier Boy being knocked out and never mentioned again. Like, this was so fucking funny. Homelander just tackles him like it's Hitman or something, and he just goes to sleep instantly. I don't know, it's just funny to me. And yeah, gotta keep him alive for the Boys spin-off that you guys totally asked for. Like, the show just ended and they already put out the trailer for What Rising and the Boys Mexico that's probably in the making too. Like, the show's corpse isn't even cold yet. Fuck, Homelander's corpse isn't even cold yet, bro. And they're already putting out a freaking spin-off trailer and bringing down the main show's quality in the process. You already did a spin-off and it didn't work, you dimwit. Also, the tiny little thing, why did Starlight bring the Deep closer to the ocean? Like, yes, we know as the audience that if the Deep goes to the ocean, he will die. But Annie doesn't know that. She's even shocked when the Deep dies. So why is she bringing him closer to the place where he's the strongest, supposedly from her perspective? For all she knows, he could pull her into the ocean mid-fight and then she's fucked. So I don't know what her thought process was when she did this. So yeah, that's the Boys season finale. I'll give this like a 6.5. or a 7 out of 10. It's definitely underwhelming. Could have done a lot better than what it did. And, you know, not focus on making spin-offs and putting Soldier Boy in the fridge for the third time. Yeah, guys, you could watch the spin-off so you can see how Soldier Boy gets into the fridge for the fourth time. But yeah, I had hopes, but it just wasn't it. But yeah, I kind of want to take a detour and talk about the online discourse around this show, cause wow, is it bad. See, this is why I took my time with my review, cause A, I don't get paid for this. This is an 80 sub channel. B, this is a one-man ship. I have other things to do in life. I do all the editing, recording, etc, etc. And C, I needed to digest and think about the finale and not spout some bullshit, cause gotta put out that content as fast as you can. I would much rather have this vid have 50 views with a well thought out, researched video then have a vid with 5 million views where I'm not saying anything of substance. But the amount of brain dead takes and misinformation I've seen online is so mind-numbing. Like this guy saying how The Boys finale is worse than Game of Thrones finale and Stranger Things finale. Brother, let me remind you that Stranger Things finale was so bad that people thought the ending was fake and there was a secret ending in the works. It gave an entire fan base schizophrenia. And second, Game of Thrones is the most catastrophic finale out of the three. That finale was so bad that you just had to be there. And like, that's how I know that this guy is LARPing. But hey, you gotta feed the content machine, cause who cares if your critiques and your points make sense or if you're right. As long as you make 50 reels in a day, it's all fine, I guess. Another example of this is on Twitter and X, where people just made up quotes from Eric Kripke that are completely fictional and all for engagement bait. And people like fucking believed it. Like, guys, the link is right there. Read the article. Eric Kripke never said these things. Like, I've talked shit about Eric Kripke, but like, come on, guys. We cannot be this brain dead where we just believe whatever is told to us. Like, is it just that easy to manipulate people and information nowadays? Because it's like, it's really sad and worrying, actually. But yeah, it's over. Hopefully I can pump out more content without using my brain like these TikTok kids. But hey, for that, I need a money incentive. So yeah, Subscribe, it's free, so I can get that YouTube partnership. But I'm very humble and definitely not greedy at all. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. See ya.